Well, for this morning, of course, you already know you have a special treat. We have our own Kelly Van Handicam, who's many of you, she needs no introduction, but if you're here for the first time, Kelly has been very active in this church. She served on the board for about 6 years as a board president, but she's not coming here as a board member or as a long-time member. She's coming here to talk about a personal as well as universal prosperity demonstration. Kelly Van Handicap.
Am I on? Can you hear me? Very good. Good morning. First of all, Reverend Festus, thank you very much for allowing me to have your space, allowing me to have the floor, and also for the vote of confidence. Because Reverend Festus and he really doesn't know what I'm going to talk about today, which I really appreciate. You just said, go do it. And I'm very grateful to be here because, see, I already forgot to do the first thing. There we go. I'm very grateful to be here because I think a lot of times in our spiritual lives, at least for me anyway, in our lives, it's crisis and challenges that tend to push us in and cause us to grow. And when we get into a place of complacency, where things are smooth and everything's okay, we kind of drown out the voice that says, is this all there is? Is this my life? Is this what I'm meant to be doing? And I don't necessarily mean purpose. I mean anything that we decide is a bigger, bolder expansion of who we are and what it is that we want to do. That we're always kind of using those spiritual practices. We tuck them away in our pockets and only bring them out when we've got those crises or those challenges. So the past couple of years, I have dug a little deeper because I want to use my spiritual practices, and that's why I'm so grateful to this church. Because this talk today is an accumulation of so many things that I learned, and I was able to use them in a very, very short time span, and that's the story that I'm going to tell you today. But I want to use it. I don't want a life of complacency. I want to go out, and if I get up in the morning and decide I want to do something, I want to do it. I want to be that person. I want to be the bold, expansive expression that I was meant to be because I am a divine child of the universe, and I have a right to be here and to do whatever I decide. So this is the story in a very short time span. It came from a very unlikely place. My husband, as most of you know, is German. And he and I are huge World Soccer Cup fans. Every 4 years, World Cup soccer comes around, and it lasts 4 weeks. And I love it because it's one of those things that I feel like it connects the whole world. Because in every single village across this world, they've got a soccer ball made out of something. And they're playing. And so the whole world gets together, and everybody's got their team, and it's just fun. And Matthias and I, we get very little work done in those 4 weeks. We watch every single game that we can. And this past summer, the World Cup was held in Rio. And Matthias and I had no plans. We said from the get-go, we're not going. Even though a very, very, very good friend of ours from Germany, he was going for the entire 4 weeks and kept asking, you guys are going to show up. When are you guys going to show up? No, we're not going. We're not going. We're not going. We got 3 kids. We can't go to Rio. We're not going. Anyway, I'm going to jump to the end of the story, and then I'll backpedal. We ended up going. And Germany, for those of you who don't know, is, of course, our team, and they won. They won. And Rio was an absolute amazing experience. When I look back on it, the journey was even more amazing, and that's the story that I'm going to share. So we go to Rio, and we come back, and I was in church, And I was trying to explain to people, express to people this awesome, amazing experience that I had. And the response that I got over and over again was, well, obviously it was meant to be. And that really ticked me off. I think I had 5 people say that to me. Well, obviously it was meant to be. And I got to thinking about it, and I said, you know what? Obviously it was meant to be negates my entire experience. It takes away everything that I just experienced and places everything that I did in the past week and puts it out there in someone else's power and someone else's control and makes my entire experience absolutely meaningless. Because guess what? It wasn't meant to be. It was never meant to be. I created that. Matthias and I created that. And I know we created it because it's amazing. The story is amazing. So, here's the story. Quarterfinals. So we're not even at the semifinals yet. Quarterfinals. We are down at the Glockenspiel in St. Paul. And we're watching it, and it's halftime. And I turn and I look at Matthias and I said, you know, I just thought of something. When the final game's playing on July 13th, we don't have any kids at home. And that's all I said. And he looked at me and I looked at him. Mm-hmm. Now remember, we're taught that all ideas exist at the same time. Every possibility exists at the same time. They're all sitting up there. So what are we going to feed energy to have that idea drop down? We don't have any kids at home the week the final is showing. Okay, that's all I said. So we won, quarterfinals, we won. Matthias says, I might just check out on the internet and see how much flights are. And I know Matthias, and I know how he is with checking flights in the internet. Not going to happen. No big deal. So this, I can't remember which day, but we have it. So Olivia's over in Europe. Elizabeth is doing a camp somewhere. And Valentina's going to go spend a week at my mom's house. So on Sunday, I drive down to Omaha to drop Valentina off. On my way down there, Matthias calls me and he says, I need your Delta number. And I said, I don't know what my Delta number is, Matthias. He goes, well, you need to get it to me. And I said, why do you need my Delta number? He said, I just booked flights to Rio. I said, you are nuts. We haven't even played the semifinals yet. Well, I know, but I booked flights to Rio. And I immediately went into, we can't go to Rio. We can't do this. What is he talking about? Matthias never does stuff like this. So I let it be. I take Valentina home. He and I are talking back and forth, and really at this point, it's kind of like, well, I don't know if I'm going to Rio or not because we don't even know if Germany's going to be in the finals. I drop off Valentina and turn around on Monday morning and drive home. And I'm having this conversation in my head the whole time. We can't just up and go to Rio. I was starting a new job at the time, so my training was going on, and I was having all of these conversations of why I can't do this. Now keep in mind, on a vision board that I did about 2 years ago, one of the things that I put on my vision board was the ability, I have a desire to spontaneously travel without lots of planning. That's something I would like to do someday in my life. Well, guess what? That day came, and I didn't know if I was ready for it. Because the conversation that I was having in my head was telling me I wasn't ready for it. Coming up with all these reasons why I can't do it. So I'm driving home, and then the song Tim McGraw, Live Like You Were Dying. Anybody know it? What does he do? He goes skydiving. He goes Rocky Mountain climbing. He lists all these things, and I hear that song, and there are no accidents, and I get goosebumps. I said, you know what? I'm going to Rio. I'm going. We're doing this. So that's Monday. Tuesday, Germany plays against Brazil in the semifinals. I don't know if any of you saw that game, but that's when Germany beat Brazil. It was 7-1, which is like, they figured out it's like 456-3 if it were NBA basketball. Yeah, I mean, it was a slaughter. So we're going to Rio. We're going to Rio. Matthias and I have flights booked. We are leaving on Thursday, and we're going to Rio. So the couple who goes to Rio does what? What do they need? I need a hotel room. They need a hotel room, so I go home. There were no hotel rooms left. I think I probably got the last hotel room at that point. It didn't even matter what kind of a hotel room, as long as it was a hotel room, because there was lots of warehouse type things set up with bunk beds, and I was trying to avoid that. So I book our hotel room. My sister calls me and says, this is Tuesday night. Don't you need a visa? I said, what are you talking about? She said, you're American. You need a visa to go to Brazil. I said, are you sure? Yeah, I'm pretty sure. Okay, I had no idea. Matthias does not need a visa because he's German. He's got a German passport, so he doesn't need one. Okay, I need a visa. Internet, what do I need for a visa? First thing that comes up on the Brazilian visa website, we do not expedite visas. Don't ask us to do it. It's not going to happen. We don't expedite. Average time for a visa to Brazil, 6 to 8 weeks. That's not going to work because I'm leaving on Thursday. So what does the person do who's going to Brazil, who needs the visa? I print out all my paperwork, make copies, I get whatever cash I need, do all this stuff, and I book a flight to Chicago for the next morning at 5 a.m. because I got to go to the consulate. Now, bear with me. I know that you all are probably thinking she is nuts, she is crazy to be doing this. So it's not the what that this lesson is about. It's the how. So if you're thinking I'm crazy, that is your free will to do so. A lot of people think I was crazy to do it. However, book a flight to go to Chicago, 5 a.m. I'm at the Brazilian consulate by 10 o'clock. Got my paperwork. Go and I get my number. Go up to the line. Lady looks at my money order. You have the wrong money order. We don't accept money orders like this. We only accept money orders from the United States Postal Office, okay? Get out of the line. Get on my phone. Thank God for smartphones. Where's the U.S. Postal Office? Walk down, find a postal office, get a new money order, come back, get back in line. Oh, we can't process this. There's no way. It was a big, fat no. Big, fat no. So, thankfully, I had a book with me, Think and Grow Rich by Napoleon Hill. Anybody ever read it? What the woman behind the counter didn't realize was I had just read this chapter. One of the most common causes of failure is the habit of quitting when one is overtaken by temporary defeat. Every person is guilty of this mistake at one time or another. Before success comes to most people, they are sure to meet with much temporary defeat and perhaps some failure. When faced with defeat, the easiest and most logical thing to do is to quit. That is exactly what the majority of people do. More than 500 of the most successful people America has ever known told this author their greatest success came just one step beyond the point at which defeat had overtaken them. Failure is a trickster with a keen sense of irony and cunning. It takes great delight in tripping one up when success is almost within reach. So I got no. I got in line. I picked another number. Waited for another hour. Went to the next lady. Got another no. Went outside. Called Matthias. So I'm not sure what to do. And I love my husband for reasons such as this. His response was, go to the bank and get $500 and put it on top of your application and slide it in. Drastic measures, I know. But the fact, and obviously he wasn't serious, but drastic measures call for drastic action, and he was willing. I said, Matthias, come on, what are you talking about? He said, yeah, that's probably not such a good idea. Don't do that. Forget I said it. But you know what? We were brainstorming. Said, I'm going to call a couple of these places that, from the internet that they say they expedite visas. So I was sitting outside, and I was calling. Every single one of them. Nothing we can do for you. Nothing we can do for you. Nothing we can do. Forget it. You're not going it. You're not getting it. Forget it. Okay, what do I do? Don't know what to do. So I go back up, pull another number, stand in line again. And the lady finally looks at me and she said, what are you expecting us to do? Do you want us to change the Brazilian laws? So, and I kind of wanted to say, yeah, that's kind of what I'm here for. However, so I had no choice. My only choice was to leave at that point. And I called Matthias and I said, I don't know how it's going to happen, but it's not happening here today at this office. Okay? What are we going to do? Well, I have a flight back to Minneapolis. So I spent the next 3 hours in Chicago telling every single person that I met that I saw, the waiter, the host at the restaurant, everybody. I'm going to Rio, because I don't know. You don't know when someone's going to pop and say, well, I work down the street at the castle and I can help you with that visa. So, because what does the person do who's going to Rio, who needs a visa? I got to put action behind this decision that I'm making. Told everybody. On the train, back to the airport, get to the airport, I'm telling everybody, telling people at the ticket counter, everybody. I called a prayer partner of mine, and we were discussing this, because there was disappointment. I said, I'm disappointed, and I had to realize that. And I said, but I'm happy who I was the entire time. I didn't get nasty. I didn't get the $500 and try to bribe somebody. I didn't throw a tantrum. I didn't throw a fit. I didn't collapse my energy. So there was disappointment, but I was very happy with the person who I was throughout this whole thing. Still being open that there's a way to do this. So I go home. Matthias picks me up. And it was interesting when, and this is one of the things that we really have to get. When Matthias made a decision, we are going to Rio. Matthias doesn't like to make decisions. He's German. He likes to get opinions, and he likes to get data, and he likes to get feedback, and he likes to get all this stuff, and he likes to weigh the pros and the cons and figure things out. He said, we are going to Rio. And that really caught my attention because I thought, wow, he just made a decision. What does decision require? Requires boldness. And I have a saying that I've written on one of Olivia's walls from Johann Wolfgang von Goethe, the German philosopher, that says, boldness has magic and genius and power in it. And I finally understood what that meant. I never understood that before. And I thought, wow, he just made a decision, and that decision has boldness in it. And in that boldness, there's genius and magic and power in it. And it was like the whole universe got on board and said, hey, we're going to Rio. What do we need to do? So I got home from the airport, And Matthias had been emailing because he was planning to go, because we had decided that even if I wasn't going to go, he was going to go. Keep in mind, we do not have tickets to this event. We have no tickets. So I get home, and Matthias had been emailing a recording artist, a studio owner that he knows in Rio, and whenever Matthias can combine a trip like this with business, he does so. And so he wrote him and said, I'm coming to Rio, here are the dates that I'm going to be there, and can we meet? And he knows this, they do not know each other well. They've met a few times at trade shows. But Ricardo wrote back and said, yeah, great, you're going to be here, let's have dinner, check in, whatever. So Matthias writes him back and says, well, it looks like that Kelly won't be coming with me because we can't get a visa. This is Wednesday night. Wednesday night. Every bureaucratic office across the country is closed. Nothing happens on Wednesday nights. Ricardo, who owes us no favor, who's never met me before in my life, who put this out there without any attachment. He just put it out there. He said, she didn't get her visa. Send me her paperwork. I'll see what I can do. Okay, we don't know. He's a studio owner. This is interesting. Now, what would he be able to do that could get us the visa? Okay, send him the paperwork. Thursday morning we get up. Matthias's flight, our flights are Thursday night. We get up Thursday morning, said, you need to contact this woman at the Chicago consulate, give her this information, and she'll tell you what to do next. Okay, because we're going to Rio, and boldness has magic and genius and power in it. So we're waiting, and at this point we realize that there's no way I can fly with Matthias. I don't know if I'm going to be able to fly or not, but we've got that on hold. We get a hold of the woman. She looks over my paperwork and says, I'll call you back. We wait and wait and wait and wait and wait. It's getting closer to the time to take Matthias to the airport. We call her back. She's at lunch. Okay. We're now on the way. I'm taking Matthias to the airport, and we finally get a hold of her. She calls us back, and she says, if your wife can be in Chicago tomorrow morning to pick up her visa, she can get it. Okay, we can do that. So I'm on my way. I'm driving Matthias. Matthias is on the phone, canceling my flight, rebooking it. He has now booked me from Minneapolis to Chicago, Chicago to Atlanta, Atlanta to Brasilia, Brasilia to Rio. I thought, why am I going to Brasilia? I don't want to wait 4 hours in Brasilia. Kelly, doesn't matter at this point. It's whatever. That's just the way it is. Okay, fine. There were so many times during this process that I could have collapsed the energy immediately, thinking, this is crazy. What am I doing? This is nuts to be doing this. I was even out in my yard doing yard work, having a conversation, actually with somebody from this church who has been nothing but nice and kind and pleasant to me. And the conversation that was going on in my head with this person was all about how selfish I was being, because I could be using these miles for something else, and I could be using this money for something else, and who do I think I am for making this kind of decision and for wanting this, and it's just, the conversation was just filled with so much garbage. Am I the only one who does that? It was just filled with all kinds of, and I wasn't aware. I'm just out there pulling up weeds or something. And then all of a sudden it hit me, and I'm like, oh my God, that conversation didn't actually tangibly happen, but it did in my head. And it had every single physical reaction in my body as if it had actually happened. My stomach was tight, my shoulders were tight, I felt icky, and I was just amazed at the person my brain chose to pick to be this very unpleasant person. That was the most surprising thing. I have no idea what that was about. So again, at any time, I could have totally collapsed the energy. And then the universe simply would have said, oh, we're not going to Rio. That's too bad. I kind of wanted to go to Rio, but we're not going now. And I was reminded of Reverend Audrey when she was here last spring. She said, you name it, you claim it. And so many of these things, it was just like all these lights going off at once. I became aware of all of these spiritual teachings going on. So Matthias is on his flight. The girls are everywhere. I get a phone call from my youngest. Mom, I'm really worried. I heard some people talking that they might riot in Rio after the game. I really don't want you to go. Valentina, it's going to be totally fine. I would not put myself in harm's way. Nothing's going to happen. I'm perfectly safe. I'm with Papa the whole time. Blah, 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 blah. I hang up the phone. Oh my God, what am I thinking? I can't go to Rio? I'm insane. I'm nuts. What if the plane crashes? What if it goes down? I'm leaving 3 children, orphans, Matthias, a widow, Al-Qaeda. If they're gonna hit anything, they're gonna hit the World Cup Stadium Sunday in Rio, and I'm gonna be there. I'm so irresponsible to even be entertaining this. I can't be doing this. Do you see what we do? No, I did not need any single physical person standing in front of me saying, you really shouldn't be doing this, because I had enough people in my head telling me that. Over and over and over throughout this whole process. And again, it was up to me. I had to bring myself back. And I called my prayer partner, and he said, you know what he said? He said it was perfect. He said, well, what about this? What if you went to Rio and you had an awesome time and everything fell into place and everything went super smoothly and everyone was safe and absolutely no incidences happened? It was this great big huge world celebration. And I said, I like that. That's where I'm going to go. I'm going to go there. So at that, again, you're going to go here, you're going to go here. Where are you going to go? And sometimes that tight wire, that line, is really, really, really narrow. Which side you're going to fall on. And so it's important to have those people in place that you can call that can pick you up and say, well, what about this option? You just had that option. Let's look at this option. What if it went down like this? So I was really grateful to have that person. So next morning, I get up, got all my paperwork, get on the flight, get to Chicago, go to the consulate. Got a business guy sitting next to me. I got my German hat, got my German jersey on. I got my little overnight suitcase, everything. He said, what are you doing? I said, I'm here to get my visa. He said, today? You're not getting your visa today. And I said, bet. I'm getting my visa. He says, I go to Brazil twice a month for years. There is no way you're getting your visa. And so we got into this conversation, and I was telling him about all this stuff, and he's like, mm-hmm. He said, well, how did you get tickets? How did you get plane tickets? I said, we've got so many miles saved up. We keep saving miles. Loads of miles saved up. For what? Until we're 70? Until we're 75? Until we're 80? What are we saving this stuff for? And I told him that, and he said, yeah, you're right. I've got so many miles saved up, too. I know that guy went home. I did not get his name. I didn't get his number. But I know he went home and did something radical. Came up with some sort of radical idea because you could tell it sparked something in him. So I went up, got my paperwork. And these are the same women that I was there on Wednesday who told me no. I am now back to pick up my yes. And they were very pleasant, and everything was fine. And the coolest part about it was that I gave my money order, and she came back with my paperwork, and she said, oh, you're going there for World Cup. World Cup visas are free. Here's your $160 back. And I said, okay, I'll take that. So I get my visa, and I got my suitcase and everything. I tell my little business gentleman I was talking to, I was like, see, I told you I'm going to, and he just, his mouth dropped, and he was like, that's crazy. Get in the train, go to the airport, and on the way to the train, I'm thinking, I really don't want to go to Brasilia and wait for 4 hours. You know what? We're going to take this a little further. Universe, I know that you fully support me in getting there with the most direct route that you know, the most direct and comfortable route that there is. Go up to the Delta counter, ask the gentleman. I was very aware of not using the word if and try. I have flushed those words from my vocabulary. Said, sir, I'd like you to see about getting me on the direct flight to Rio. Oh, it's completely booked out. Impossible. No way. Oh, you have a miles ticket? Forget it. Not going to happen. Not going to happen. What if I paid for the difference? Well, yeah, we can look at it, but, we're talking $2,000 here. Could you call? Yeah, I can call. You know what? I'm walking, and I said this to him. I said, today I am walking in the realm of anything is possible. And he looked at me and he said, okay, we'll call. He called. About 2 minutes later, put the phone down. He said, you are on the direct flight, and it's not going to cost you a thing. I said, thank you very much for calling. And then I started toying with the idea of whether I wanted to be upgraded or not. And I couldn't get myself to go there. But I did say, I was saying, the universe fully supports me in having the most comfortable, enjoyable flight that I can have. So I'm sitting in my seat. It's 3 seats in the middle. Sit in my seat, middle seat is empty. There's a gentleman sitting over here. I'm like, cool, I got a middle seat. The very last minute, this very, very, very cute young Austrian guy comes trotting down the aisle, and that is my partner next to me. I said, okay, I can do that. We had a super fun time. But the interesting part about it was that when the flight took off, the gentleman on the outside realized that his video player wasn't working, and so he got up and got a different seat. And anybody who's ever been on a really long flight, you know that having an additional seat makes all the difference in the world. So there was 2 of us, there were 3 seats, we got along fabulously, and it was an awesome, awesome flight. Matthias had no idea that I was not going to Brasilia, so I showed up at his hotel at like 8 a.m. or something. He was quite surprised because they had been out the night before. Very, very long. Now, and I know I'm already at my thing. Give me 5 more minutes. One of the things that I realized that when we were down in the Copacabana and everywhere, and we met up with our friends, Rio did not, everybody was out of food. Anytime we went to order food, they were like, well, we're out. No, hamburgers? Nope. French fries? Nope. Well, most of the time we ended up ordering, there was no food available. And we asked one lady, what do you have then? And she said, we have beer and we have caipirinhas. And we were like, okay, we're going to do beer and caipirinhas, I guess. We'll forget the food. So we met up with our friends who had been there for the entire time. And he came and he said, I have 2 tickets for you and Matthias. We had 4. 2 of them we're going to sell to you and Matthias for face value. And the other 2, they sold on the black market. Those tickets were going for, people were paying crazy amounts of money for them. And the only reason that they were able to sell us their 2 tickets is because one of the gentlemen of this group had met one of the physical therapists of the German soccer team, and that physical therapist gave them 3 tickets to the final game where the players' wives sit. Now, what are the chances of that happening? If they hadn't gotten those, he would not have been able to sell his tickets to us. We would not have had any tickets. So Matthias and I, we were at the final game, Germany against Argentina, in Rio, the world's largest sporting event. and Germany won. It was the chance of a lifetime. I'll show you my picture first. This is it's my favorite picture of last year. My kid said, "You kind of look like a maniac, Mom." When I came back from that experience, Matthias said something about, I can't remember, we were talking about something, and he said, "I'm worried about something," or "I'm scared of something." And it was one of those, it wasn't even something big, but you know how we just say that kind of stuff in passing? I'm scared, or I'm worried, and I said, "You know what, Matthias? We went to Rio. I am so done with fear. I am so done with worry. I'm done with it." Because again, it doesn't matter what that, for me, it was Rio. It was the experience of Rio. So my invitation for you today with this whole story is we have all of the tools that we need. And here's one of the things that I learned too, because so much of this stuff is done on an intellectual level. Positive thinking, and it's like we know it, but we don't really know it until it becomes emotional. And emotional in both ways, good emotions and bad emotions. Again, that tightrope is very thin sometimes, and we can collapse either way. So my invitation to you today, the reason for this talk, is what is your Rio? What is that small voice that maybe has gotten drowned out because of that, because everything in your life is kind of going okay, which is fine. It should be going okay. But don't let complacency don't let complacency drown out that small voice, that idea that you have, that bigger, bolder, greater expansion. And here's another thing that I learned. It doesn't matter what that expansion is. So many times we judge those expansions or those ideas. I shouldn't be doing that. I can't, what are they going to think of that? The universe doesn't care. The universe is behind you every step of the way. So, thank you very, very, very much for having me. I'm so glad that I got to have this talk because I literally have given this talk like 500 times in my head since then. So I don't know what would have happened. My head would have just exploded one day if I hadn't had the opportunity to. So thank you very much. Appreciate it. Go find your Rio.